Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan and I have an endless TBR. Today we're going to attempt the musical theater book tag. I saw this on Katie Colson's channel, and originally the tag was created by Maddie over at Book Browsing Blog. I'll add links to both of their channels in the description box, I guess. I'm a huge musical theater nerd. I've not stepped on stage to perform in a musical in a very long time, and I'm okay with that. Seeing the professionals on Broadway is a much better experience than the rehearsal performance process from my end. So this selects a few tracks from some of my favorite musicals and a couple that I don't know nearly as well. So you might hear a little bit of singing, but mostly it's about the books. The first prompt is for Hamilton, and Maddie has selected the track Satisfied. As you know, a toast to the groom, to the bride, may you always be satisfied. And then we go into some of the neatest staging that I have ever seen, whether it's on Disney Plus, live on stage, absolutely immaculate, very, very cool. The prompt is, what book had an unsatisfying ending or needs a sequel? Now, I don't know if I really consider this unsatisfactory, but it's definitely ambiguous, which some people have had major critiques of. And I'm speaking of The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. I thought it was a really effective ending, and there are elements of the writing that really got in my head, and has really solidified Paul Tremblay as one of my favorite authors, hence all of his more horror titles. I read one of his mysteries and didn't love it all that much. But all of his horror titles, I love the Titan editions. I'll probably toss a couple up here on the side rather than pulling them off my shelves from under Giles from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He's keeping watch over my horror titles. Yeah, so Paul Tremblay is one of my favorite authors. The ending of The Cabin at the End of the World really solidified that for me. But there are plenty of critiques that say this is totally unsatisfying. I don't understand what happened, but I loved that about it. The next prompt is a really primarily UK-based show. This is Everybody's Talking About Jamie, and the track selected is the title track, Everybody's Talking About Jamie. I have heard this come up on like Spotify playlists every once in a while. I couldn't give you enough information about the show or even attempt to sing a line from this song. So the prompt is, what is a really hyped book you want to read only because of the hype? And I have to say that y'all are almost pulling me on the Sarah J. Maas train, and House of Earth and Blood is the first one. Yeah, Earth and Blood. House of Earth and Blood is the first one. I read A Court of Thorns and Roses shortly after it came out and put it down because I said, oh, everybody's loving A Court of Mist and Fury. I'm just going to wait until the whole series. And they're sitting on my shelf and read. I also recently read Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I inhaled the audiobook in like a day and a half. So chugga chugga. I'm going to catch up to the train at some point, and maybe I'll hate the adult stuff. But so far I'm having a good time. Next is from Anastasia. We're going with Journey to the Past. I don't know anything about the stage production, to be completely honest with you, but obviously the not Disney animated princess movie of the 90s is Fox's Anastasia, which technically is owned by Disney now. So I used to play the soundtrack for Anastasia on repeat, and the very last track of the soundtrack was Journey to the Past in Spanish, and I could pronounce the crap out of it. Not that I actually knew what the Spanish words were, aside from the fact that they were a translation of the original lyrics. I will not be singing in Spanish. I don't remember any of the lyrics. But in English, One step at a time, one hope then another. Who knows where this road may go? Back to who I was, on to find my future. Things my heart still needs to know. The prompt for this one is to name a book that features flashbacks or developed backstories. So I'm going to take the opportunity to talk about Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. Rebecca Roanhorse is an Indigenous First Nations author, and Black Sun is the creation of a pre-Columbian South American, Central South American, Central/South American historical fantasy. This is a lot of setup for a really giant chessboard that's going to be occurring moving into Fevered Star, which I also read. Didn't enjoy quite as much as the original, but the context in which I read this, I needed something to really sweep me away from where I was, and this had the ability to do that. We get flashbacks which help develop the characters further, and it was really engaging getting to know these characters, really having an unclear idea of who we're supposed to be rooting for in this. The first scene is very traumatic, very violent, so look into that if you need to do so. And the final scene is really something that propels you into the sequel, which slows down a little bit. Again, I didn't like it quite as much as the first volume. But if you are interested in the setup, if you are interested in this gorgeous cover, do yourself a favor. So from Be More Chill is Michael in the bathroom. The character that played Michael in pretty much the entire run of Be More Chill, and that's like multiple iterations, multiple locations, is George Salazar. The quality of their voice is absolutely outrageous. And I think they really just loved this part and this show, which is based on the novel by Ned Vizzini and deals with an implant in your brain that's supposed to make you cool, but you know, it might have disastrous contexts. So Michael is in the bathroom at a party, and he has been abandoned by his friends. So he's sort of just blubbering, and now I'm just Michael in the bathroom. Michael in the bathroom at a party. No, you can't come in. It's so dramatic. The prompt for Michael in the bathroom is, if you were escaping a party by hiding in a bathroom, what book would you take with you? And I guess probably a chunker. So I guess I'd be looking for maybe a comfort read, and Christina Lauren tends to be that for me. My two favorites so far are in their contemporary rom-com-y type books. Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating and The Honeymooners were the first two books that I read from them, and it just brings a smile to my face. It brings a little bit of lightness. So if I had been dumped by my friends at a party and I was upset and in the bathroom, having locked myself in, those might be able to bring me out of my stupor. Maybe. Another UK-based show that has since transitioned to Broadway is Six, which is less a musical in like a storyline and more a theatrical concert featuring the wives of Henry VIII. The opening track is called Ex-Wives, which is where our prompt is, and everybody gets to introduce themselves. Welcome to the show, to the history mix, switching up the flow as we add the prefix. Everybody knows that we used to be six wives. And we really get their version of events in this like pop princess style. This was the first show that I saw when Broadway reopened. They were still technically in previews because they were supposed to premiere on Broadway as the shutdown was occurring. So the energy in this performance, in this show, was off the charts. And between the lights and the costumes, and there's glitter everywhere. Not even glitter, it's reflective everywhere. A really amazing theatrical experience. The prompt that goes along with Ex-Wives is to name a book that is a twist or retelling of a well-known story. My eyes flew over this book. It's on my favorite shelf right behind my head, and I had to go with Legend Born by Tracy Deonn. It is a King Arthur retelling. That part's on the blurb, and the twist is for you to read and find out. I cannot wait for the sequel. I am looking on NetGalley nearly every day for the opportunity to read this before its publication. And I went to Barnes & Noble when the paperback was released, because I own the hardback. Went to Barnes & Noble, sat down on the floor so that I could read the bonus chapter in the paperback copy. So I really can't wait. Tracy Deonn, Ms. Deonn, take your time, make sure it's good, but I really can't wait. From the last 5 years, this musical takes me back, especially to my college days. The music and lyrics are composed by Jason Robert Brown, who has done a bunch of really interesting musicals, and the last 5 years is really cool in that it is told in reverse timelines. So at the beginning of the show, our main character, Kathy, who is still hurting, that's our prompt for this one, is lamenting the end of a relationship. Jamie is over and Jamie is gone. Jamie's decided it's time to move on. Jamie's got new dreams he's building upon, and I'm still hurting. And Jamie, who is our male character, there's only 2 people in this show, starts at the beginning. It's all exciting. There's newness. And we see them, the only time they interact directly on stage is right in the middle of the show with 10 more minutes. It's the proposal of marriage, and in the second half, we see Kathy move toward the beginning and the excitement of their relationship, and Jamie moving towards the end of the relationship. And it's just a really, really neat construction. Check it out if you have not heard of the last 5 years. The prompt for this book is, what book hurt you and has stuck with you ever since? I don't read a lot of books knowing that they're going to hurt me. I had A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara on my shelf for a very long time and decided that it really was not the type of book for me. So that's one that, people read and vlog themselves crying and sobbing, and I just can't. So a book that hurt me, I guess this is another book. I don't know that it hurt me necessarily because I knew what was going to happen, but the portrayal of the Song of Achilles, the story of Achilles and Patroclus, as described by Madeline Miller, it did bring tears to my eyes. It has stuck with me. It sounds like a really cop-out answer because this book is so big. But it's for a really good reason. It's really well written. It's so compelling. You know these characters so well, and even though you know how it ends, you want to read it anyway. So the next musical is Newsies. This is another one that I don't have a whole lot of connection to. I've seen the movie starring Christian Bale. I've listened to the soundtrack, the Broadway cast recording, featuring Jeremy Jordan, who is incredibly talented, and have seen some of these dance features that are absolutely incredible for the stage production. And I know Santa Fe, but really only, again, coming up on my Spotify playlists. So Jeremy Jordan wants to escape to Santa Fe, get out of New York and away from the newsy or the publishing bull that they're dealing with before the strikes in the early 20th century. The prompt for this is, what fictional place would you love to visit? And I have to reach back to my favorite shelf again for 2 selections. I really can't decide. The first one is The Realm of Zamonia from Walter Moors. This is a German illustrator. He's a comic artist, and he created this series of books that started with the 13 and a half lives of Captain Blue Bear, which you see here, and has really expanded this. I don't even know that all of them have been published or have been translated into English. This was translated from the German by John Brownjohn. I don't know if that's a joke. But the full title of Walter Moore's The 13 and a Half Lives of Captain Blue Bear, being the demi-biography of a seagoing bear with numerous illustrations and excerpts from the Encyclopedia of the Marvels, Life Forms, and Other Phenomena of Zamonia and Its Environs by Professor Abdullah Nightingale. So, there are illustrations throughout this book. I have a spider web here, which doesn't provide any context. I have a maze that occurs in Zamonia. So this is a fantastical realm in which pretty much anything is possible. We have strange little creatures featured on the back cover. We have pirates in the ship with Captain Blue Bear. They are not his pirates. He is not captaining them. I believe he has been taken captive in this particular illustration. It's just a joy. I love Zamonia. And the other location that I could not fail to mention is the Cemetery of Forgotten Books from The Shadow of the Wind, which is the first book in the Cemetery of Forgotten Books by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. Interestingly enough, this is also translated from Spanish. The primary translator of Carlos Ruiz Zafón's Spanish work is Lucia Graves, and she also translated this and the rest of the Cemetery of Forgotten Books quartet, which are all on my favorite shelf, even though I've only read this one. But I've read this one a couple of times, so they're just waiting for me. I'm waiting for the perfect moment. The next musical is Come From Away, and I've only seen this on Apple TV. I've listened to the soundtrack multiple times. When I found out about this particular show, I borrowed the original Broadway cast recording from Hoopla, sat in my car, and just lost it. The construction of this musical, listening to it is really cool with different styles of music and getting each of the characters featured. And then seeing it and seeing this really small ensemble of people switching between multiple roles, accents, character types, is just absolutely phenomenal. The recording for Apple TV was made during the Broadway shutdown, and they invited an audience of first responders and essential employees to view the show for the recording. You know, live theater is nothing without its audience, to be completely honest. And the fact that they were able to invite those essential workers and give them 100 minutes of respite as we revisit a really harrowing time, but a time where we see community rallying together to support other people is really such a beautiful moment. So with that digression, wow, we're featuring Me in the Sky. This is sung by our pilot, Beverly, one of the pilots of the planes that finds itself in Gander, Newfoundland, following the closure of American airspace on September 11th, 2001. Sung by Jen Coletta, I would never be able to do it justice. But I guess I'm gonna try. Suddenly I'm flying company charters. Suddenly everything's high. Suddenly there's nothing in between me and the sky. Which sounds fine here in my room. We will see what the camera says as far as spiking my audio. And if I'm not able to balance that, I really apologize for your eardrums. Pick a book that features your dream job, real or fantastical. I think maybe I found where I'm supposed to be, and I'm working as a librarian. So I have to pick a really shiny cover, which is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I'm trying to angle this down. I hope the glare is not too bad. This features Laszlo Strange, who is a librarian who believes that the lost city of Weep has something more to offer, and he can't stop thinking about it and trying to figure out what happened, why this city was lost. This is a duology. It features blue people and moths, and the language is absolutely beautiful. So I would recommend giving this a shot. It looks like a big chunky book, but the writing style is very easy to move through. So I would recommend trying it out if this sounds at all interesting. From Waitress, the prompt is for the song When He Sees Me. This is from one of our side characters rather than from Jenna herself. The whole show is really well choreographed and very cleverly choreographed with songs and lyrics by Sarah Bareilles. So it has this little like folk sort of poppy sound throughout the whole thing. I saw Jordan Sparks as Jenna, and she was absolutely amazing. Again, this side character is trying to get back into the dating world. So she starts off, I'll stick with real things, usually facts and figures. When information's in its place, I minimize the guessing game. Guess what? I don't like guessing games or when I feel things before I know the feelings. How am I supposed to operate if I'm just tossed around by fate? And the prompt is, what book did you fall in love with the second you saw the cover? This one's too far away for me to get to, but a book that I loved the second I saw the cover was The Lady from the Black Lagoon by Mallory O'Meara. I was aware of this book before it came out. I listened to Mallory's podcast with the film writer and author Bria Grant, Reading Glasses. So again, it's another nerdy book podcast adding on to my nerdy book life, but they're a joy to listen to. So I got to hear a little bit leading up to like Mallory's research process when she recorded the audiobook. You know, she was out of commission for a couple of weeks because she's like, for a week straight, I was just talking for 8 hours creating the audiobook for my debut nonfiction read. And the covers, the colors on the cover are so striking. It's absolutely amazing. I knew I was going to read this book, but the cover design really drew me in. Dear Evan Hansen, I have a funny story as to my relationship with this particular show. I saw Ben Platt as Evan Hansen before he won the Tony for the role. And my husband had purchased tickets because he's like, oh, Ben Platt, he's that guy from Pitch Perfect, which is one of my favorite movies, which is ridiculous, I know. But the ending scene where they're doing their final performance makes me cry nearly every time. So that's just a weird quirk that I have and something that I need to work through on my own. Thank you for understanding. So Ben Platt was this guy in Pitch Perfect. You really like this movie. He plays a dork, and this character apparently has severe social anxiety, which my husband also experiences. So he bought the tickets sort of sight unseen. We listened to Waving Through a Window, which is the like primary song that everybody knows from this show. And I left it at that. Normally I listen to the soundtrack. I know all of the words before I even sit down in my seat in the theater. Boy, was I surprised by Dear Evan Hansen. When you're sitting in that theater, it just does something, right? It affects you emotionally. Ben Platt and everybody else who has stepped in as Evan Hansen, gosh, the manipulation that occurs from that actor to everyone on stage and in the audience, it's probably criminal somewhere. But the track that's featured for the musical theater book tag is Disappear, which is a very sad song that occurs about halfway through, in which no one deserves to be forgotten. No one deserves to fade away. No one should come and go and have no one know he was ever even here. And the prompt is to hype an underrated backlist book. So if I turn around and look at my favorite shelf, I see Madeline Miller, Tracy Dion. I already talked about Walter Moore's. Emily Henry needs no help. Emily St. John Mandel needs no help. Taylor Jenkins Reid doesn't need my praise. I talked about Carlos Ruiz Zafon, and we'll pull from behind Captain Jack Sparrow. The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. If you like the dual timeline, discovering what really happened in the past, vibes from The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, you might really like The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield, because this adds a gothic layer on it. This is a ghostwriter who is approached by a complete recluse author who has written 12 novels, and the last one has been lost. So we go to this decrepit mansion and find out what has happened to lead up to the, seclusion of this author and what has really happened in their life. Almost done. We'll see if I can finish filming before I have to go to work. Legally Blonde is up next. What you want. I cannot possibly attempt to sing from Laura Bell Bundy's roles because she's a gem and a queen, and I just can't do it. Legally Blonde, as you can imagine, is a joy of a show. I was in high school when this musical premiered on Broadway, and in the choir room, the theater area of my high school, we would just run around screaming, oh my God, you guys, which is not the song featured in this particular tag, but that was the best that I could come up with. The prompt is, what do you want to see more of in books? I guess I would just like the ability to read more of them. I don't think that I need anything particular from authors. They're creating stories that they're interested in. And there's a bonus question, which is to pick your favorite musical and recommend a book that reminds you of it. So one of my favorite musicals is one that y'all have probably never heard of, and it's called Title of Show. I'll put the original cast album. It never made it on Broadway. It was off Broadway, I think, in its final production. But this was a 4-piece production with a keyboardist, and it was a really meta look at writing a musical. So it was these two guys writing a musical for some sort of exhibition, and we got to see them writing the musical in real time in the scope of the musical. So as far as metafiction, I haven't read a whole lot. I don't know a whole lot. I don't know if this really counts as like metafiction, but the story within a story within a story reminds me of House of Leaves, which is very heavy, so I'm going to put it down. And the song that I'll feature from this musical is one of the final songs in the show. Features the whole cast, and it goes like this: I'd rather be 9 people's favorite thing than 100 people's 9th favorite thing. 9 people's favorite thing and 100 people's 9th favorite thing. And that's the end of this book tag. I think I have just enough time to finish my coffee, pack my lunch, and get my butt to work. But if you have stayed this long, I hope that you will like this video and subscribe to my channel. Check out a couple of other recent videos that I have produced, and leave me some sort of music note in the comment for the musical theater book tag. I'll see you later. Bye! Probably really spiked the audio, but we'll find out. I lost my page. As Randy Jackson would say, I'm a little pitchy. The actor that played, oh no, I'm forgetting his name. Oh no, I went out of order. What the hell is the line? I forget the words I was going to use. Big about the future, the dream job, you were fantastic. Am I singing the right song? Yeah, okay. I had the right song. I got nervous for a second. Sorry, Jack. I may have shifted the key there. Now those 9 people will tell 9 people, then we'll have 18 people loving the show. Then 18 people will turn into 525,600 people all loving our show.